Your Honor, over the past 100 years, black women started to perm their naturally textured hair. Technically called chemical straightening, perming has become the most popular hairstyling choice for black women worldwide. Today, between 60 and 75% of black women perm the natural hair. The common reasons women give for perming include fashion, taste preferences, versatility, and easy grooming. We also know perming has deep historical and psychological underpinnings, which many women may not realize or openly acknowledge. A pivotal study by U.S. National Institutes of Health in 2022 confirms this. 60% of black women reported perming their hair because of the pressure to conform to white beauty standards. Wendy Green, professor of law at Thomas Klein School of Law at Drexel University, describes this pressure as the straight hair mandate. Green says it affects black women's work, social and educational lives. Your Honor, black women expose their bodies to harmful chemicals during perming treatments, according to Healthline.com. Common side effects reported include scalp irritation and inflammation, burns to eyes, nose, lungs and skin, damage to hair shaft and split ends, hair loss and alopecia, skin conditions and rashes, and allergic reactions. Yet, black women brave these risks to get the beauty or hair practicality they desire. In a study in Kenya by Beatrice Eti Messi, published in the International Journal of Dermatology, 67% of women reported suffering harm from hair relaxers at least once. While 75% of the affected women considered stopping the hair treatment altogether, half of them resumed almost immediately or after a period of time. The side effects are obviously alarming, but they pale in comparison to even more serious health risks, some of which are listed by consumernotice.org. Adverse effects on embryos, fetuses, babies and children, asthma attacks and respiratory complications, endometriosis, impaired fertility and infertility, impaired immune and nervous system function, vision impairment and vision loss, increased risk of fibroids, womb cancer, breast cancer and skin cancer. I'll briefly highlight scientific evidence linking hair straightening products to cancers and other health conditions. First, the use of perming products is linked to 18% higher risk of breast cancer. Source: a study led by Carolyn Eberly, published in the International Journal of Cancer. Second, the use of perming products is associated with increased risk of fibroids in women. Source: a study led by Lauren Wise, published in the American Journal of Epidemiology. Third, perming products are potentially linked to an increased risk of uterine or womb cancer, the most common cancer of the female reproductive system. Source: study by the U.S. National Institutes of Health, published in 2022. The increased risk of womb cancer is most pronounced for black women because they use chemical straighteners way much more than other groups, says Chandra Jackson, researcher at the U.S. National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. Fourth, 18 popular hair relaxers and hair products used mainly by black women and girls contained between 4 and 30 endocrine disruptors, chemicals that disrupt the production of hormones and are potentially linked to early puberty, preterm birth, reproductive diseases and asthma. Source: a study led by Jessica S. Helm, published in 2018 in Environmental Research. These findings may explain in part why black women go through puberty earlier and suffer higher rates of asthma and reproductive diseases than other groups, says Tamara James Todd, associate professor at the T.H. Chan School of Public Health at Harvard University. Fifth, black women are less likely to use permanent hair dyes, but when they do, the use of the dye is linked to 45% higher risk of breast cancer, eventually shooting up to 60% for black women who use the dye more frequently. Source: study led by Carolyn Eberly, referenced earlier. Sixth, hairdressers who frequently apply light-colored permanent hair dyes or hair-waving products on their clients have more potentially cancer-causing chemicals in their blood, chief of which is toluidine. Source: a study led by Gabriella Johansson, published in the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine. The World Health Organization considers hairdressing work probably carcinogenic, because hairdressers tend to be at higher risk for bladder cancer.
Your Honor, California's Department of Toxic Substances Control, DTSC, evaluated several chemicals in hair products linked to human health conditions. Formaldehyde is the most notorious of these chemicals. It is found in several perming products and hair treatments, including the Brazilian keratin treatment or BKT, popularly marketed as Brazilian blowout. In 2011, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, an agency of the U.S. Department of Labor, issued a health hazard alert to salons across the U.S., warning about risks of popular perming products to salon workers and clients, including the popular Brazilian blowout. OSHA warned that formaldehyde, a common ingredient in several hair straighteners, could cause nose and lung irritation, and was linked to increased risk of cancer. Environmental Working Group issued a similar warning, after its own investigations turned up numerous complaints of hair loss, blisters, burning eyes, noses and throats, headaches, and vomiting. The EU, Canada, and Australia have already banned hair straighteners containing excessive and illegal levels of formaldehyde. But not in the US, where the US Food and Drug Administration has allowed BKT products to remain on the market, in spite of recommendations of the US government's own scientists, says Roni Karen Rabin, in a 2020 article in the New York Times. Thankfully, Women's Voices for the Earth publishes perming products currently banned in Europe and Canada, and perming products on the US market, which contain or release formaldehyde. African countries are silent. Zimbabwe is the only country showing some interest in addressing this problem. South Africa has yet to act. Yet, in a study by Nonhlanhla Khumalo, published in the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatologists, researchers found that all 7 Brazilian keratin treatment brands sold across South Africa contained unacceptably high and dangerous types of formaldehyde. 6 brands had formaldehyde concentrations of between 94% and 140% above the maximum safe concentration level. And yet, these brands were labeled formaldehyde-free. Formaldehyde-free labeling is a marketing ploy. In a review of cosmetics in the International Journal of Trichology, Maria Fernanda and Reese Gavazzoni explain that, these days, manufacturers use formaldehyde releasers, rather than formaldehyde itself. These are chemicals that release formaldehyde only after they come into contact with high heat during the Brazilian blow-dry and hot iron application process. Yet, manufacturers advertise these products as formaldehyde-free. Further, manufacturers do not list all the chemicals in hair straighteners on product labels. In one study, for instance, 84% of chemicals discovered in hair products were not listed on product labels, including hair products marketed to children. I'd like to end my submission with a quote from Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey. There is an entire industry that has become successful on the backs of black hair discrimination. Chemical treatments like relaxers, hair extensions, and wigs were all created because of this disgust for our hair texture. Thank you, Your Honor.
When we return, legal actions taken by black women in Canada and the United States suing manufacturers of chemical hair straighteners for various cancer diagnoses. Join us for part 3 of The Great Hair Burden. Subscribe to our channel to get notified of newer episodes.